Before we get into the subject of today's video, which is not the same subject at all, I promise, I want to first do two things. First, I'm going to shill a friend's GoFundMe because they've hit a really difficult time and I feel very bad for them. Link to it in the description below. If you can help, I would appreciate it. Second, I want to provide an update to Carl Beach. Now, Carl Beach has featured many times on this channel, most recently last week, where he was found guilty of 12 counts of perverting the course of justice, 1 fraud, and several child-related offences. That was the part that got this video demonetized. If you see ads on it, skip them. There's no way I make money on them. The judge declared that he had repeatedly and maliciously told lies to the police and has shown zero remorse on this subject. Carl Beach cost the taxpayer and the police £2 million through Operation Midland investigating his allegations, all of which were proven to be falsified. This man has gotten to the point where he believes his lies enough that to him, and only him, they're truthful. He has been sentenced to 18 years. Now, I'm sure many of you have an opinion on how long that should actually be. Some would say put a 1 before the first one and you've got it roughly correct. And try and keep him alive for the whole sentence. We want to see him through to the end, of course. To some, death would be far too easy. I personally think 18 years, considering his age, and if he serves it, he'll be 69 when he gets out. Don't make the jokes. I personally believe the sentence is inadequate. I do believe it should be longer. But considering one of those 3 crimes is highly taboo in prison, 18 years is going to feel like a very long time for him. Especially if he's introduced to a rather veiny Pringle tube, with the words, "Do you want pumped?" written along the side of it, and with "once you pop, you're going to want us to stop" written underneath that. Anyway, moving on from that, we should change. Change of scenery, change of clothes, and talk about something a bit different. So even though there is a considerable amount of news going on when it comes to Boris Johnson, I am going to refrain and tell you that you should go watch the Moisky live channel where all the politics goes down. Instead, I want to talk about shaming. We hear about it all the time. You have body shaming, fat shaming, gender, sex, sexuality, race shaming, although I'm pretty sure they all have their own unique name and shaming doesn't have to be a part of it. Perhaps identity shaming. Well, let's add to the list, shall we? Zodiac shaming, according to an article from Mashable UK, or Muck. Lol. For those who don't pay attention to zodiacs, I don't much either, but I know my own. Zodiac is a star sign assigned to you from a set period in the year. Constellation nonsense, essentially. I know someone's going to get upset that I said it that way. You know what I mean? I don't care for it. I'm going to be open about that. Apparently, that makes me a typical Capricorn, because of certain behavioural traits linked with being a star sign. The article references that zodiac shaming, or the practice of treating someone differently and punitively because of their astrological sign, is not a joke. I had thought this article was written on April 1st. I was wrong. The point being not to mock somebody who might be undateable based on arbitrary factors such as star sign. Although from what I've learnt on gaming streams where people have talked about star signs, which did in fact happen I believe last Tuesday or the Thursday before, Cancer being the somewhat ironic choice for being most undateable. Now I should of course say, for the sake of my own skepticism, my personal belief is compatibility should not be assigned through star signs. It should be unique and individual as opposed to arranged by family or designated by the stars. But I'm sure some people believe it enough that it becomes true to them, much like Carl Beach's earlier mentioned lies. Difference being, of course, he's a criminal and those that believe in this are not. I'm not going to mock you for believing this either. That is your decision, your choice. I find the article's concept to be somewhat amusing. A few years ago, and I'm reading from the article now, my partner was finishing up a screening interview for an apartment when the conversation took an oddly personal detour. Up until that point, things had been going well. She had excellent financials, an enviable credit score, and a genuine camaraderie with her potential roommates. She was reportedly sailing through the screening until their final question: what exactly was her sign? Their tone was serious. Not knowing the consequences of what she was about to say, she revealed that she was a Pisces. And for those who are curious, that is the water element. They are mutable, compatible with Virgo and Taurus, the Pokemon, with the date range from February 19th to March the 20th. Alleged strengths including compassion, artistic, intuitive, gentle, wise, and musical. Weaknesses including fearful, overly trusting, sad, desire to escape reality, and may become a victim or a martyr. I would continue this by reading the what Pisces like and what Pisces do not like, but instead I've decided I cannot be bothered because it might imply that I'm interested in this when I'm not as much interested in the star sign as I might sound. Instead, I will link the astrologyzodiacsigns.com website down below for you to peruse at your leisure. By all means, enjoy yourself. And just because it amuses me, I'm going to read something from Capricorn's traits, which is what I am. Strengths: responsible, disciplined, self-control, good managers. Weakness: know-it-all, right? Unforgiving, true, condescending, very much so, expecting the worst. Capricorn dislikes. This one's my favourite. This is a very English-sounding trait. Almost everything at some point. Love it. Now to go back to the article. My partner could see the reaction in their faces. They were devastated. The interview ended immediately. Shortly after, she was denied the apartment with no explanation as to why. While this is anecdotal evidence, and to be honest, it should be dismissed because it's laughable, if true, very funny. I would not want to live with people who are so shallow as to believe something as arbitrary as the star sign of your birth is somehow important, because this person clearly got on well with everyone anyway, proving the point that star signs aren't entirely accurate. They were compatible until they brought up something that became an issue, because they believed in it so much that somebody that wasn't compatible within the group was unfitting, unbecoming, unworthy. Kind of pathetic, really, when you think about it. Those kind of people who are overly zealous about something they believe in, those kind of people aren't the kind of people you want to live with. So perhaps it's a good thing that your partner was unable to secure the apartment regardless of her financial situation. With people who then start to say they won't date people based on their star sign, they usually base it on personal experience, and then obsessive personal experience in the sense that they have assigned people into a group because they make it easier for themselves to then avoid people. They're looking for every excuse not to do something, but not be able to make an excuse for why they could try and do something. There are tweets referenced in the article that further cement this belief. My view is, yeah, you're all a bit special. Yes, you've had personal experience that makes you feel a bit bad, and then you've decided to try and make it easier on yourself by pigeonholing somebody, but then you're blaming the star sign and not the individual, which is how you should treat it. There are traits, yes, there are traits that seem to correlate with star signs to an extent. I've noticed it. However, you should always base it upon the individual alone, and not something that is meh at best. The article then proceeds to continue talking about people who deeply believe in astrology and cosmic manifestations, and be uncomfortable with things like zodiac shaming, with the idea that hard lines can signify hard prejudice. But I don't think it's about being prejudiced. I think it's about people looking for any excuse to pigeonhole someone. Star signs aren't as special as they once were to many people. The majority of people don't particularly care. Many getting their zodiac-related information from the newspaper's local psychic. With this, I'm interested to know a few things. I want to know if any of you know your star sign, know what traits they are, and whether or not you happen to fall in line with any of that. This is quite funny to me. I'm not going to mock people that believe in it. I'm only going to point out that I don't believe zodiac shaming isn't a thing. I believe it's something else, which I believe I've adequately described. I'm also not going to mock people who believe in something because it's your choice. I don't care. So please let me know in the comments below. So I hope you all have a lovely Monday, and thank you all for listening.